You know, we all have different relationships with our bodies. Some are good, some are not so great. In recent years, body positivity has inspired women to love and accept their bodies regardless of what they look like. But that's not always possible for everyone. And it can be especially difficult when the people telling you to be body positive are thin social media influencers. Enter body neutrality, a term that encourages women to focus on what their bodies can do rather than what they look like. We have some special guests here to discuss whether this concept is the key to self-acceptance. And I'm going to start with the first question for Sarah. So Sarah, what is your relationship with your body like now versus years past?
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't really know my story, I was somebody who did intentional weight loss as a way to try and love my body and found out very harshly on the other side that didn't really work. I am now postpartum with my fourth child, and I'll be honest with you, I thought that I'd done all the work and that I was now okay. And this experience recently has reminded me of my fight and my why and kind of put me right back in the ring of fighting again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fight that is hard to make disappear because society is constantly bombarding you with what you're supposed to be. And I would say that I've gone through so many ups and downs with my bodies. Right now, I'm at peace, gained a lot of weight last year, and that's okay. Working on sort of being a little bit more healthy now. But what I want to know from Talli, do you feel like it's possible to not be connected with what our bodies look like? Why or why not?
Well, for me, body positivity isn't loving your body regardless of what it looks like. For me, body positivity is loving your body for what it looks like, embracing your differences and letting them sparkle, like embracing your body, not regardless. So that's the thing about body neutrality. I don't think we should be neutral. I think we should take what makes us different, like the fact that I'm 3 feet tall and I have no arms. I don't want to, sit in the shadows. That's how I used to look at my body. I want to show the world that I love who I am. We can't always love our body every 24/7. Even somebody who's a so-called, these are my air quotes, by the way, body positive expert. I am somebody who, talks about this stuff every day. I just spoke to a whole school of kids yesterday about this. And I still do not completely love my body every single day of my life. Like, it's ridiculous because I think we should be embracing what our bodies look like and what they do for us.
So you like the body positivity. You've got, you want your body to be, you want to love your body. And I accept that. And that is absolutely an answer to that question. I'm going to go to Jessamyn now, though, because I want to know, and a lot of people struggle with this, is it possible to be body neutral and still want to change your body's appearance? What do you think?
I have so much to say in response to what everyone has said, and I'm just going to try to encapsulate it in what you're asking me now. What I would say is that there are many, many reasons why someone might want to change their body. It has there's so many different things that can happen to you in your lifetime. And I don't think that the route that you choose to accept your body should really be that related to whether or not you decide to make a change to it at any point. Because the one thing that we know in this life, that we don't know a lot, but what we know is that change is always coming. And so that's really what we have to ultimately accept. And I have thought so much about this concept of body neutrality because having been on social media talking about this for a while, I've seen this shift from people. Body positivity really came out of this idea of fat acceptance, which is such a radical idea and really is about fat people being able to live our lives in this society without having to be ashamed. And I think that body positivity for a lot of people feels like a shaming kind of space because it's well, if I'm not positive about my body, if I'm not happy about my body all the time, then how can I be body positive? And so then body neutrality has come out of that, I think, in an attempt to address this idea, like Talli is saying, about not loving your body every day, not being happy with your body. But I am so I don't think it's possible to be neutral toward your body ultimately. Like, I think that our bodies are political, our bodies are complicated. They are literally the lens through which we see this whole world. And we can't be neutral about them. Like, we have to just let them be complicated.
Okay, that is interesting. It's nuanced, it's complex, the body is political. All really good points. I'm going to go back to Talli now for a moment, because as you mentioned, you were born without arms, so you've had to find ways to adapt. Can you tell us about your experience learning to appreciate your body for the things it can do? And do you ever have strong feelings about things your body can't do?
Totally. Yeah. Throughout my life, I've been really determined to be completely independent. So I've worked really hard to be able to do all the things that you all could do in your house, but I don't have any arms and I'm 3 feet tall. So it's obviously a challenge. But the cool thing is, and I still notice it to this day, how my body adapts, and I don't even do it on purpose. So there's a couple examples. One is that because I'm pretty much all torso, my core is so strong. When I lift up a bag of cat food, it's all my core. When I lift up, when I'm sweeping the floors or mopping the floors, it's all my core. And I hula hoop actually every day. And I find that I'm really strong in my core because my limbs are very small. Another really cool thing, that one's obvious. The one that's not obvious is my tongue. And you guys are like, oh gosh. So I don't know what tongue I was born with. All I know is I have a crazy, long, strong tongue with probably more muscles than any of you. And I use it to type, not with my tongue. I type through my lip. But yeah, it's really cool and I know you guys are all wanting to see my tongue, so just let me know and I'll whip it out, but it's crazy.
Listen, that is something that a lot of us that don't have the same experience that you have would not have thought of. Like, your body's adapting all over the place. You've got lots of reasons to be proud of what your body can do every single day. Jessamyn, yeah. I'm going back to you for a moment because you're a yoga instructor, and the yoga and wellness industry often promotes a very thin, white ideal. So as a yoga instructor, how do you try to combat this, if you do? And does it ever make it difficult for you to accept your own body?
Because I am immersed in the yoga world, I do think about it more than perhaps I would otherwise. And I just really feel like yoga has nothing to do with what you look like. That is the least important quality in yoga. So that when I hear people talk about like, oh, you have to look like this, or you should do this, and that all of that has nothing to do with yoga. So it always rings as false to me. And I don't feel like it's something that needs to be combated, because yoga really is such a bigger concept than anything that could be sold to other people.
Yeah, for all those reasons, Jessamyn, that's why I love yoga. It really has nothing to do with outward appearance at all. Shifting over to Sarah now, let's talk about the snapback, something that I find so enraging. So Instagram, social media, it always shows the snapback. Oh, she lost that baby weight like the next day she had abs. So let's talk about your experience dealing with this belief on Instagram. How do you feel about it?
For myself, going into my 4th postpartum, I know that it was the most difficult season in the past. So I was coming into it a decade later, having my 4th child. And in anticipation of that, in a frustration one day, I wrote down, and I'm just going to read it out. And it said, the ask is to stretch, grow, birth, bleed, nurse, lose sleep, and make it look like nothing happened at all. And so in my efforts to combat this, while I'm just going to call it out, I'm like a thin, cisgendered white woman in this room, I know that all I can do is show up in my own truth and my own experiences and just show that it is so different. Day to day, it's different. Experience to experience, it's different. Birth to birth, it's different. And I can only represent what I have experienced. So what if I just showed up in my truth and just encourage other people to give themselves a little bit of compassion and grace for the fact that we are not going backwards. We're not bouncing back to anything. We're not snapping back to anything. What if we had the effort and the focus towards how we're going to shapeshift and move and bounce forward? Like Jessamyn said, change is inevitable. We have such an obsession with staying the same, and yet we're so fixated on being one thing by going back to who we were as a 12-year-old child almost. to limit ourselves that way feels like such an injustice to who we are and such a mass distraction to our lives and how much we can do with our bodies, even as they change, and showing up even as they change.
Jessamyn, I'm giving you the last word. How can we work to be more accepting of our bodies?
I think that the most important thing that we can do to be accepting of our bodies is to just really hear the negative things that we say about ourselves. Just hear them, no judgment, no shade, no shame, not pointing the finger at anybody else, not saying it's the media, it's my parents, it's my spouse, it's my children, it's whoever, it's not them. Acknowledge and accept the things that we say about ourselves and allow the compassion that comes from that place of acceptance, which is all that will come. It will be boundless love and compassion. Allow that to reflect into the world. That's how we accept our
Good
bodies.
advice. Good advice. Thank you, all three of you, for joining us. Such a great conversation.